What would you do if at your graduation party, the happiest day of your life? This isn't a hypothetical question. It happened to me. For a $15 million inheritance, my billionaire father decided my life was no longer necessary. This is the story of how I survived. I'm Amelia, I'm 22 years old, and I just graduated from Vanderbilt University with a degree in molecular biology. My parents, Victor and Catherine, never approved of my choices, but they threw me this incredibly lavish graduation party anyway. It was strange, considering just a week ago they called me a useless leech. As I watched the bubbles rise in a glass of expensive champagne, I noticed my father, thinking no one was looking, deftly slip a white powder into my glass. My heart stopped. An icy horror washed over me as I realized my own father was trying to poison me. If you're watching this video, write in the comments where you're from. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll tell you how I survived my parents' betrayal and found a strength I never knew I had. To understand why my parents would want to harm me, you need to know about our family. The Sterlings were not your typical loving household. My father, Victor Sterling, built Sterling Biopharma into a multi-billion-dollar corporation using ruthless tactics. My mother, Catherine, was obsessed with appearances and the Sterling legacy. I was the opposite of my perfect older sister, Isabella, the heir to the family business. My achievements were always met with indifference, and my interest in environmental science was dismissed by my father as tree hugger nonsense. The tension peaked when I chose to attend Vanderbilt instead of a specialized pharmaceutical university. But the real reason for their hatred became clear later. My maternal grandmother, Beatrice, the only person who ever supported me, had left me a $15 million trust fund that would become accessible upon my graduation. If I died before then, the money would go to my parents. They discovered this 3 months before I graduated. Suddenly, their hostility vanished, replaced by a creepy, feigned kindness. Their sudden warmth and the decision to throw me a grand party should have been my first warning sign. At the party itself, the atmosphere was tense. My old mentor, Professor Albright, mentioned irregularities in clinical trials at my father's company and advised me to be careful. My parents watched my every move, and Isabella whispered that they were acting strangely. Soon my father announced a special champagne toast for family only from a specific bottle. Minutes before, I had slipped down a service corridor to use the restroom and overheard their conversation. "Are you absolutely certain this is necessary?" my mother asked tensely. "Do you want to lose everything we've built?" my father hissed back. "The FDA investigation is gaining momentum." My blood ran cold. They were going to poison me. Back at the party with icy calm, I asked my friend Chloe to record the toast on her phone. When my father handed me the glass with a fake smile, I saw the faint, undissolved powder at the bottom. As he gave his hypocritical speech, I made my decision. Speaking of my amazing sister, I said with a bright smile, "She deserves a proper toast too. Take mine, sis, I insist." Before anyone could react, I had pressed my untouched glass into Isabella's hand and smoothly taken hers. My father's face froze in a mask of horror. "To family," I declared, looking directly into his eyes. Isabella, confused but conditioned by etiquette. About 30 minutes later, she collapsed. In the ensuing chaos, my parents rushed to their golden child, their faces filled with genuine panic. While they were distracted, I met the paramedics downstairs. "My sister has collapsed," I said quickly. "I'm a biochemistry graduate, and I suspect poisoning. Here is a video of the toast." At the hospital, everything moved fast. I told the doctors exactly what toxin to look for, an experimental compound from my father's labs. My guess saved Isabella's life. Soon the emergency room became a crime scene. I told Detective Harding everything: the overheard conversation, the inheritance, and the FDA investigation that could ruin my parents. The truth was even worse. The detective informed us that the FBI had already been investigating Sterling Biopharma for 6 months for fraud and environmental crimes. My father's attempt on my life was the final nail in the coffin. When Isabella recovered, she confirmed she had seen secret reports on my father's server about dumping toxic waste into the river. We had both been their puppets. The story exploded in the news. Pharmaceutical CEO and wife arrested for attempted murder of daughter. During their investigation, the FBI uncovered evidence of systemic falsification of drug safety data and decades of environmental contamination that had led to cancer clusters in nearby towns. Isabella and I grew closer than ever, united by the shared betrayal. We learned that the poisoning was merely Plan C. They had also fabricated evidence to frame me for corporate espionage. At the hearing, the evidence was overwhelming. My parents received long prison sentences. My father never showed a shred of remorse. After the trial, I felt free. The inheritance my grandmother left me, which was meant to be the motive for my death, I established a foundation to help the communities harmed by my father's pollution and began working for an environmental remediation firm. Isabella enrolled in law school to fight people like our parents. We lost the family we were born into, but we found each other. A year later, as I stood giving a speech at a conference, I saw Isabella and my friends in the audience, my true family. My parents had tried to poison not just my body, but my spirit. But in surviving, I found my purpose. My grandmother's inheritance was valuable, but her true gift was her faith that I could break the toxic cycle of our family. That faith saved my life, and now it is shaping my future.